certified teacher. I certified in 2013 in the early and middle childhood English language arts and literacy.
Early, middle, what'd you say again? Early what?
So it's early and middle childhood.
Okay, so elementary.
Yep. English language arts and
Nice.
literacy was the certificate that I went for. So I don't think I've met you before. So where are you?
So I'm up in Kalispell and I teach kindergarten.
Okay.
And I have spent, this is my 12th year of teaching. I have taught, this is only my second year of kindergarten, but I taught a couple of years in first, a year in second, several years in third. I was an instructional coach for 3 years. And now I'm landed in, came back to the classroom after coaching.
Great.
Yeah.
How are you finding it now that you're back in the classroom?
Oh, so much happier. Just, that was not my skill set.
Okay. Well, that's good. Well, I'm sure the kids are glad to have you back in the
Well, I'd like to think so.
Yeah, that's great. I taught kindergarten for many, many years too. So have you considered what certificate you might want to go for yet? Or?
The one that you have. Yeah.
Okay.
I did I did a master's degree through Lesley University, probably about the time you were national board certifying in literacy, curriculum instruction with an emphasis in literacy. So that is my love. Absolutely.
And in kindergarten, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's
yeah.
Sort of the backbone of kindergarten.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to hit present here. Tell me if you
Yep.
can still see everything. I think we're just loading.
Yep.
There we go.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've covered introductions and there's our contact information.
Okay.
After this event, we will send you the link to the slide deck as well if you want. Sure. Actually, no, I think there's a slide deck right there, bit.ly/NBC webinar, because we have some links to different things throughout there. So if you want to write it down or open it up as we're talking, and then you'd have the information.
Okay.
Kim should be joining us. She's in Helena. She's a former first grade teacher, and she works for her local union now full-time. And she and I both certified at the same time, and we have the same certificate as well. So you're going to be in great company.
Nice.
Here. And then you know Marco, I'm sure.
Hi.
Low.
I have a hard time calling him Marco because he was my choir teacher. And to me,
that's funny.
I haven't changed a bit.
No.
I haven't gotten any older.
No.
Have you always been with doing national board certifying, Marco? Because you seem like you're maybe familiar to me, because I've looked into this before.
I have for the last 11 years. Since I got here, that's one of the programs that I oversee. And so I've done these informational sessions and over all around.
Okay.
So I work closely with Christy as one of our, she's one of our national board jumpstart trainers, and she's
here in Kalispell.
Yeah, she's just great.
Yeah, she is. I like her. Good gal.
I'm getting a message from Kim that she doesn't have the link to get in.
I'll text it. I'll send it to her.
Okay. All right. I'll have you do that, and then we will get going. All right. So you probably, if you said you attended some information about National Board before, so you're familiar with the process and how long it's been around. And we're very lucky in Montana to have MFPE supported as strongly as they do, and to offer these networks for teachers. I think it's what we want to tell teachers is it's voluntary. This is a professional development program that is, I think, one of the highest honors you can earn as a teacher in the country. It's hard, but it's worth it. I think anybody who goes through it will tell you that.
Yeah.
It was developed by teachers. Your materials are submitted and assessed by teachers, and the standards themselves were written by committees of teachers. So you're being engaged by your peers, and so the work that you create and the support you get is from teachers as well. So it really is a high quality professional development program. Oh, there she is. She made it. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Can you hear us?
Yep.
You've got sun there too, it looks like.
Yeah, it's like blinding me.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's fine. This is Danny in Kalispell, and she's a kindergarten teacher.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Kim.
Shared the same literacy certificate that you and I earned, so
Oh,
I
cool.
told her that she's in good company. And I just started with these initial slides, just talking about National Board. But Danny's attended some of the informational meetings before, so she's pretty familiar with the process.
Oh, good.
Oh, we've got somebody joining us. My friend Renee. I hope we see her face.
Yeah.
She's in my building, like literally. She is new to Kalispell schools. She came here from Vermont. I'm introducing her for you. And I'm her mentor, although not a very good mentor this year. I'm going to be honest. It's been a hectic year for me, but hopefully she's going to come in. Otherwise, I'll text her and say she.
Renee, are you there? Hi, Renee.
I just see a black box.
Yeah, that's all I see. I'm just going to text her.
Okay. Yeah, she could come in the room with you.
Yeah, she's just across the building.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So, yep, this is just some facts about National Board Certification and 112,000 teachers in the country, and more than 50% of National Board Certified teachers teach in high needs schools. 81% of Americans believe that teachers should achieve board certification because research shows that kids who are in classrooms taught by National Board Certified teachers achieve more and do better in school. And that's really what this is all about, is student achievement. So we actually know that we have 141 National Board Certified teachers here in Montana. And that is the most recent count, I believe, as of last fall. MFPE offers the support program for our National Board Certified teachers, and we have 29 teachers we consider NBCT leaders, and that would be like Kim and I and several others around the state that are actively working to build the program and to get that number even higher, to support teachers in the process. Some of the programs that have been developed are Jumpstart, which we'll be talking about a little bit more, but that's a program to get you started that will be happening this summer. Home Stretch is a support program that happens just as you're finishing up to help you get your materials in and to make sure you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
And we're still working on that program.
We're in development.
It is kind of in development, and we're working to kind of make it a longer term program over the course of the certificate process. So we're trying to modularize that, if that's such a word, to kind of make it work for people as they're going through, and maybe not do it right at the end. But so that's in transition right now.
Mm-hmm. And then the ambassador program is what Kim and I have actively been a part of. And then there are several others in other towns as well that are really trying to just get the word out and have informational meetings like this and really motivate people to get started.
And Nikki and Kim and Danny, I have to go. I have another meeting, but you guys are in great hands, and we'll get the glitches worked out of this system here. So appreciate your work. And Danny and Renee, if you're on, I hope we see you at Jumpstart.
I hope so. I'll stay in touch.
So Nikki, I'm afraid if I close out of this, I'm the host, that it's going to shut everybody down. So I'm just going to minimize it.
Good plan.
Hope for the best.
I'm afraid that might happen too.
Okay.
Renee is texting me. She actually went home and is trying to hook on at home. She's just having some camera issues. She said she might leave it and rejoin. So yep, there she left, but we're going to wait and see if she rejoins. So
Okay, see you guys.
Bye, Marco.
Bye, Marco. Nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm. Take over and talk about the next slide.
Yeah, sure. So this next slide just is a state map that shows kind of where the concentrations of the National Board Certified teachers are. You can see how many in the areas, and we're trying to get the numbers to, reflect more out in those outer lying areas and not just the bigger cities.
Sure.
So you have quite a few up in Kalispell. It looks like a 14.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
I think so.
One of the higher numbers on there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Good. And I mentioned this before. We've got we know that, sorry, that picture of Marco suddenly appeared and it distracted me.
Oh, I know, it's kind of funny, isn't it?
He doesn't want us to forget about him.
Yeah. Decade of research shows that board certified teachers learn more than their peers that don't have it, and the positive impact of having a board certified teacher is greater for even our minority and low income students, which is one of the reasons the state has put together these incentive programs to get greater stipends paid to those teachers that are working in the low income and high poverty schools. Let's see, having a hard time getting my slides to advance. Oh, then I went way too far.
Uh-oh.
Good grief. There we go. Here we go. All right. I don't know. I think I'll move past some of this and get to the more meat of this. So Kim, do you want to do this one?
The 5 core propositions, yes. So Danny, you've been to some of the informational sessions already. So do you kind of know about the core propositions already?
Well, I would have heard them. I couldn't have,
You can't regurgitate them, but you know that
verbatim.
right.
But yeah, I did see these.
Okay, so the components are all based around the 5 core propositions, and they're incorporated. It doesn't matter what certificate you do; they're all around these 5 main points.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about how you're committed to your students, and you know the subject and your student learning, and you're thinking systematically, and your members of learning community. So all of the pieces always come back to these 5 core propositions.
Right.
So that's the important piece here on this slide.
Sure, I do remember that.
And then this kind of goes through the slide. The teachers are committed to their students and their learning. And when I think the hardest thing about the component pieces is that you have to be able to show evidence of these.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be hard. Can she hear? It says can't get it to work, but I'm here. So she can see us, but we can't see her. Is that what you're thinking, Nikki?
We can't see her. I don't know if she can hear us.
Can you? She says,
I can hear you.
Okay, well, then we won't talk anymore about you.
Well, and feel free to use the chat, Renee, to ask questions or to get our attention. That works just fine. I'll keep it open in my window and we can take turns. And feel free, this can be informal, so interrupt us at any time if you have a question about any of it.
Yeah, sorry, it popped up on my screen when she typed in, so I had to stop because there's a big box on mine.
Yeah, that's fine.
So here's proposition number 1, that the students are committed to their students and their learning. And I mean, I don't need to read that to you. 2, they know their subjects they teach and how to teach those subjects to the students. I mean, that's probably an easier one to show. I mean, showing that you know how to teach the curriculum. Managing and monitoring student learning. And that's a big one for one of the components is you start here and how do you get from point A to point B, and what's the process, and how are you going to make sure that your kids are making progress during that time. So that's one of the easy ones. Thinking systematically about your practice, making good professional decisions is always a big thing in there, and how to show that. And then you're a member of a learning community. How do you collaborate with others? Mm-hmm. So, and then here is that architecture of the accomplished teaching. This is, sometimes when you look at this, it looks confusing, but it's definitely something that you already do every day. So you start with, who are your students? What do they know? And then you spiral up and, go to the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th, 5th, 6th, and then you come back down and start again.
Yep.
So you're always using those 5 core propositions and how to get that accomplished teaching piece. And that's just a good little visual on how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nikki, you're up. Or do you want me to keep going?
Nope, I can do this. So yeah, so these are the certificate areas. You're ahead of the game because you already know you want to do literacy and language arts for children ages 3 to 12. These are all the other areas. I've been working with a teacher in Livingston that's getting the physical education one. That's been really interesting to learn about how those components are so different than what we did, and how she's having Hers is very assessment based, so she's had to do some really detailed write-ups for how she's assessing skills prior to teaching the lessons and things like that. And with the just choosing the certificate area, you just want to make sure you're choosing something that you plan to teach for the long term, because once you start this, you want to continue it in this certificate area. And when you go to, it's not recertify, it's, what is the word again, Kim?
It's maintenance of certificate.
Maintenance of certificate. So in 5 years, you'll go through the maintenance of certificate, and it will need to be in the same certificate area. And so you'll need to be in a similar setting, working with the same age group of students. Luckily, ages 3 to 12 covers your K-5 settings. So even if you end up leaving kindergarten and, 3 years after you get your certificate, you'd still be within that age range.
And you can always borrow a classroom.
Yes, that's what I'll have to do. I'm not in the classroom anymore. I work as in the coaching capacity now. And so I will definitely have to borrow a classroom to maintain my certificate. To be eligible, you have to have a bachelor's degree, 3 years of successful teaching experience. The way they make sure it's successful is I think you have to have a letter from your principal endorsing you. Teaching license and all the prerequisites for your certificate area. So if you're going after early childhood literacy, you have to prove that you work with kids in that capacity. So the components, this breaks down each of the components. And the first one is, we should say they have them numbered 1 to 4, but you don't have to take them in that order. You can, in fact, we recommend that you save this one, component 1, which is the content knowledge test, that you save that to do at the end of the portfolio process, because the knowledge you acquire while you're putting your portfolio together really does help you when you're taking that test. Now, the last webinar we did, the teacher was on and she had already taken the test and she did really well. And that was the first thing that she did because she saw it was number 1. So she thought you started there. But most teachers find that taking the test after they've already done all 3 portfolio submissions makes them feel more confident. The literacy test is going to put you in a lot of situations where you're evaluating a child's literacy and recommending instruction based on what they present to you. And it's just testing to make sure you have the content knowledge to earn that certificate. Kim, do you have anything to add about that one? No? Second one. So this one is, remind me about this one.
Did you skip number 2?
Did I? Then maybe that's why I'm like lost here. I'll go back. There we go. Oh, the differentiation. That one makes more sense. So this will be an entry where you need to show work samples of students. And so the advice that people always say is just like keep everything all year. Like for every kid, just like keep it all and have it in file systems, because sometimes you're down to the wire deciding which kid you're going to use for that entry. And so the more you keep, the pre and post is really important. And then you would just be writing up how you differentiated the task based on the student's performance and then proving that it worked. Want to talk about the next one, Kim?
Sure. Component 3.
Yeah.
The teaching practice and learning environment. So this is your video recording. When I did mine, it was just plain 15 minutes. And I think depending on, and it might still be the same for the literacy. Is that what yours was, Nikki? It was just 1, wasn't it? It wasn't 2 pieces. Well, we also did 2 videos.
I did 2 videos. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to do 2 videos now. It's just the 1 video. And everyone's, I mean, you have to look at the specific highlights for what it says now. But I believe this component is just a 1 15-minute for the literacy.
Okay.
And when you do the video, you're going to want to take a lot of videos. You're going to want to set up your iPad, and you're going to want to just do a lot of practicing, not just so the kids get used to it, but also so you can see, can you hear what's going on?
Yeah.
Can you see what's going on? Because if you can't see it, then that's a huge problem. And then of course, if you can't hear it.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people use their phones now. When I did mine, I filmed my video on a little flip camera.
Me too.
And I plugged it into my, computer type situation, and it was like old school.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, a lot of people just use their phones.
Mhm.
But I videoed something last year, and it was tough to hear. So that is one of the big things there. And then your written commentaries that go with that. And then you also put student work with those videos. So this component is weighed a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And I probably, this is the one that you probably put more time in than any of them.
I agree.
You'll lead the lesson and you'll think it was amazing, and then you go back and listen to it and you can't hear anything, or so much noise, or somebody turned it off and you didn't know. Like, it's just, it's just I scrapped a lot of good stuff from this one, because just to get something on film that would work. Definitely.
Yeah, I wish I would have practiced more.
Yeah.
To make sure that I had it all, like it was gonna work for the lesson that I actually wanted to do. But
okay, so this one, component 4. So this one, Kim and I were going through, I believe it was called documented accomplishments, right?
Yes.
And this one is more about what happens outside of your classroom, and all of that extra stuff that you're doing to build the success of your students, and to communicate with families, and to promote school at home and within your school environment. This is where you are providing documentation. The trick about this one is that you have to prove how this activity directly impacts student achievement. For me, it was really powerful because I had a lot of extra stuff I was doing outside of the classroom, but I really had a hard time saying, yes, my students did better because of my participation in this, which actually helped me pare away some of that extra stuff and say, I probably don't need to be participating in this, because I can't prove that my students are doing better because of that. So some teachers have kept track of their communication with families and used a communication log to talk about how some of that extra work for a kid outside of the classroom can promote their success. This could also be like a family math night or a family reading night or anything like that you might be in charge of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So then scoring. Once you're done, you submit it all, and each component is sent off to a different set of assessors. So it's not seen as one big portfolio. It's sent in pieces. And so an assessor who's been trained in just that portfolio component takes it and applies a rubric to it, and you are given a score. You usually have to have everything turned in by May, I believe, June. And then May. And then you get your scores. They say December. I think ours was November. And then you have to decide if your score is high enough, you certify. If not, you have to decide if you're going to resubmit some components to get that score a little bit higher. You can take these components in any order. You have up to 3 years to submit all 4 of them. You can do it all in a year. It's nice to have the flexibility to do maybe just a couple in a year. But you have 5 years to complete the certification process with all of your retakes. Does that make sense?
A retake meaning a resubmission?
Yeah. So Kim and I both have similar stories. We certified at the time when everybody was doing it all in 1 year. And so you did all 4 components and your test all in the same year. And I did not pass. The first year, my score was about 6 points shy of passing. And so, it was crushing. But I made it through and came out on the other side. I ended up resubmitting 2 components just to really knock it out of the park, and ended up recertifying in the second year. After that, they changed it so that you had a longer period of time and there was no longer this expectation to do it all in a year, because it really just does take a long time to put the work into this and to really have that documentation. And I was glad.
It is doable to do in a year.
People do it. Yeah, people do it. But you don't have to.
Now, when you say a year, are you talking about people generally starting in the fall so they have a nice long school year with the same group of kids, or do some people start like say mid-year, summer break, pick it up in the fall, finish in May? I mean, there's no set, you have to start at this time, right?
You can't, yeah, you cannot you can't like sign up for anything until like next fall, but you can start working on anything you want this summer. Have you signed up to get a participant ID? You can't even do that until the 1st of April. And then, so you do that, you decide what you want to do. You can always change your certificate area that you're looking at, but you can start working on it in the summer, like start working on like the documented accomplishment thing now, the reflective and effective practitioner. And you can start looking at that and gathering things and start writing up even things that you're doing outside of the classroom. And then in the fall, you could say, okay, this fall, I'm going to work on component number 3, and I'm going to do my video, and I'm going to solely just focus on that. And then you can do in the winter months, do the student work piece, because then you're not going to take the test until sometime in the early spring. Like you'll submit all of your components in it kind of varies, April, May-ish, but then you can take that computer test into like the 15th of June.
Oh, gotcha. And
So,
again, that's assuming a person wants to do it in a year.
Yeah, that would be all 1 year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how you could easily do it in a year. A gal here in Helena, that's what she did. She worked on the reflective practitioner piece in the summer. Last fall, did the video. This winter, did the other piece, and then did the test. And that's...
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Depends on how much time you have. It is really nice that you can stretch it out.
Yeah.
And it does turn out, we'll look at that side a little bit. It is cheaper the faster you do it.
Yeah.
You know, so there's the monetary reason for that. So yeah, as Kim went through this slide just now without even.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes,
and this registration, these are ish times, because I know, for instance, the registration and payment deadline is not January 31st this year, it's February 28th.
Oh,
okay.
If you want to change your certificate, it's also February 28th. And then the submission window varies depending on if you're doing maintenance of certificate, which is still being called renewal right now, or if you're actually submitting all the components. And then you can see what the testing window is there, middle of June, and then the scores are released sometime before December 31st. And like Nikki said, we got ours in November, the year that we got our results back, but this year it was December.
All right. So there's the breakdown of fees. And I think a lot of people get sticker shock when they look at the process and look at how much it costs, because they see maybe this 3-year price of $21.25. And I think they've really done a nice job of making this manageable, I think, financially, because you only pay for the component you've committed to. You know, you don't write a check for $2,000 right off the top. You start with a $75 fee that gets you your number so that you're in the system. And then you decide which component you're going to do. And so you could just do $475 for the first year. Every year you've got to take that $75 fee. So like the longer it takes, it costs more because you have to pay that fee every time. So, but when you, I'm sorry, my emails are bonging in the background there. But when you consider what your payout is going to be when you certify, the state stipend and probably whatever your school district is giving you to support far outweighs this initial investment. And then this is, do you know what Kalispell does for National Board Certified Teachers?
Well, our stipend is somewhere in the, it's over 1,000 more per year in our first salary. I don't know if there's an initial, like when you get it, you get a bonus of some sort. I know many years ago there was, but Christy would know that. I can find out from her.
Oh, $2,000
for our school? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So so you'll get your investment back, basically.
I do remember that. Oh yeah, because she just pointed the 2000, and we are a high need school. Yeah, we're a Title I school.
Mm-hmm. So that's great.
Our school pays our salary. Like you get X for a master's, X for a doctorate, X for national board. It's about the same as a master's in terms of just a salary each year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'll have to find out. I'll find out.
Okay.
Because it matters. Because I will say, and I might be jumping ahead of what where you're at and what you're going to be sharing with us, but the last meeting I went to, I was alongside a lot of other teachers about where I am in my career, which is, about halfway in my career. But that renewal fee set a lot of people back. It made us stop and start crunching some numbers and go, oh, in 5 years, I have to cough up quite a bit of money, and it's basically to take back from what I've been earning in the last 5 years. And it was not shaken out really well as we'd hoped for all that you do to get this certification.
Yeah.
So it's only going to be like $500 for a renewal.
Well, it was not 500 before.
So the renewal process right now for people who are renewing, it's like $1,500, but their certificates were the 10-year certificates.
Oh.
But from now on, because the process has changed,
okay,
and it's also less, like when Nikki and I did it, we spent $2,500 to get our initial certificates for the 10-year license or 10-year certificate. The license is now only 5 years, or the length of the certificate. It's less money. And we actually don't know what any of the maintenance of certificate is going to look like yet, because no one has had to do it.
Oh.
No one's at the 5 years yet. They think it's going to be around $500, and it's going to be like one component.
We're all waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, we are. No one will know. But it's not going to be the $1,500 that it used to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was significant. So that's really good news. You sold me.
Yeah.
And that was the feedback I think they were getting.
Yeah.
So in an effort to incentivize teachers, that's why they, first of all, slowed the process down so you didn't have to do it all in 1 year, and then made it a bit more affordable.
Yeah.
And then thankfully the state of Montana, and Marco just said, I don't know if you were on, he said it's kind of moving, this bill is moving through the legislature right now.
Okay.
And he said he's just kind of quietly watching it go, and so far everything looks good. And so with any luck, this will continue.
Can you help me understand the difference between these two boxes?
Mm-hmm.
One is non-high needs school, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So high needs meaning a title school, right?
It's not necessarily a title school, actually. You need to go on to the OPI website, and there is a list. A lot of them are title schools, but they're not all title schools. So for instance, our middle school, one of the middle schools isn't on there, even though it's title school. It's not it doesn't qualify.
That's high needs.
As a high needs school, according to OPI.
Okay.
So you'd have to go to the OPI website and look to see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think, to be very sure, email Marco and he'll tell you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Marco has the list too. And I think in my email might have the list somewhere, actually, because we were just talking about
Probably
this.
do too.
But you can just get onto the OPI website and look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Good.
Mm-hmm. So then the support systems that the state has in place get better every year. And the big one is you'd want to get online and read your candidate guide, and your standards will become your Bible. You want to print those off and, put them in a binder and just commit them to memory. And I'm sort of joking, but they really, you want actual lines from those standards to appear in your writing. You want to really have that writing influence, or those standards influence your writing. And then this Jumpstart is an opportunity. I think it's on the next slide that we get a little bit more into it. But once you're in the system and you pay your fee, then you want to register for Jumpstart. And then as you go, you pay for each individual component. And these are the dates for Jumpstart this summer. And this is going to be a nice face-to-face intensive training and gives you an opportunity to meet other people who have committed to doing this, and then to really get started, to unpack those standards and to maybe get yourself organized. It does cost, is it $100, Kim?
I don't think that they've set the price yet. Last year, I think it was 100, but
yeah. And you're responsible for your room and board there as well. So, but I think it's very much worth the commitment.
So does this, okay, let's just say it costs $100. What was the 75? Oh, that was just the fee, that annual fee, $75.
Yeah.
But that's fairly soon. That's like by February 28th. Is that correct?
that's if you're submitting like in 2 months.
Oh, I'm not submitting anything in 2 months.
No, you're right. So you have like a whole year to think, how many components can I afford?
Right.
You have like a whole year to buy those components and pay for those components.
And you buy them as you go, so that, let me just, if I may. So say I come to Jumpstart in August, pay my 100, register for 75 and say, yep, I'm going to do my video component. And I'm going to try to start that in the fall. And I finish it, and in January I get sick. Something happens. I can't continue to the next component. I can just put it on pause, right? And
you submit that one component.
Yeah, right. But I don't have to keep rolling. I don't,
Correct.
You stop and start, or you just keep rolling.
Yeah, you have 5 years though.
Oh, right. I understand. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah, Jumpstart's completely optional. It's just highly recommended.
oh, I would do that for sure. We're too close to Missoula. My daughter lives there. Easy.
Yeah. Well, and it's really nice to have a community of other people who are also doing this.
Right.
I did it all by myself.
I did too.
It also connected me with some other formerly National Board Certified teachers that I sent my writing to get their feedback, and that helped a lot, and got good advice before I took the test. And there were some, at that time, they were convening some of the people who were doing it in the Bozeman area, and we met a couple of times to talk about it, and that helped quite a bit as well. But I think there were some people in that group that were like grade level team members doing it together, and I was always so jealous of them. They had each other to help and talk through the process.
That's how we did our masters. We were a cohort. There were 18 of us from Kalispell. I know Renee had a question, if I just may ask. The test, back in the day when I first inquired, and this was many, many years ago, we had to go to Spokane to take this test. How is it now?
It's a piercing testing center.
Yeah.
And they're in different cities. I don't know if there's one in Kalispell or not, but you can get on the Pearson website and look.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a piercing testing center. There's one in Helena.
Okay.
It's like where you go to do your nursing exam and like your EMT exam, a computerized testing facility that's like Fort Knox, and you like have to like literally take everything out of your pockets, and can't wear a watch in there, that kind of situation.
Yeah, no, I remember them describing it like that. It was a little daunting, but
It is weird. And then Renee asked a question. So you re-register every year that you are submitting a component. Yes. If you do not finish all 4 in the same year, every year you have to pay that $75 registration fee.
And to clarify year, it's, say you start in September, it's not the new year in January.
Right.
It's the new year by the next September if you haven't finished. That's your calendar year, your anniversary year, right?
Correct. Yes. All right. I think we're almost here. So yeah, we're come to the end. Here's our contact information if you need any help with this. And then we are going to, we've been recording this, and we'll send the link to that recording. So you could go back and re-listen to something if you wanted to, but also just feel free to shoot us an email and ask us questions. So we've got more in the chat box here. Oh, the community college here.
Yeah, that's so good. Our community college is becoming quite the
great. So you
dot on the map.
I had to travel because I live in Belgrade, so I had to travel over to Helena, but
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't a big deal.
No, I just wasn't excited about going to Spokane. That's all.
No,
Yeah.
no, of course not. Out of state is never good.
Yeah.
Things get better every year.
No, I'm highly encouraged. I have a really good friend that I met through Twitter. She lives in Louisiana, and we met through Voxer and a Twitter chat we were on like 4 years ago. And when she came into our Voxer group, she introduced herself and just casually said, "I'm nationally board certified." And my ears perked because I have inquired about this, and I wasn't even going to get my master's, except that these other teachers in our district were like trying to get people to join their cohort. I thought, well, I guess I might as well do this and not do national boards, because nobody else seems to want to do national boards. And frankly, it scares me. It looks really intense and intimidating. And I was still early in my career. So anyway, but I've continued this friendship with this gal in Louisiana. In fact, and interestingly, she teaches gifted, and she's right now doing her, whatever you want to call it, recertification, and talking with me a lot about, you know, all the writing she's got to do and how, and she keeps telling me, you need to do this, Danny, you need to do this. And so anyway, it's been knocking on my door a long time. And then to see Renee's doing this, oh God, now I feel like I might have someone to do it with.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
So can we answer any more questions for you?
Well, what's this February 28th? That's making me a little nervous. Deadline.
That's just the deadline if you're going to submit any components this school year. You have to be paid by that time.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that deadline at all right now.
Okay, good.
That would be like next year on by February 28th, you would have to submit a component.
Okay. And so I compartmentalize and I visualize a continuum of time, say. And so what would really be a realistic component to do, say, in the fall? I'm not thinking the video would be it. What's another one? Student work?
Yeah, I would think your differentiation one would be good, because you'd have that beginning of the year baseline.
Okay. So let's just say
video.
I commit to differentiation. How much time do you have to complete that component? As much time as you want, but you want to be setting a realistic goal, knowing that, well, I really would like, I guess a lot of this will come together in the Jumpstart, I suppose. I'd get a lot of questions answered. Say I did my differentiation and submitted by, do they give you a date? Like if I say first day of school is August 28th, do you tell me you need to have this submitted by X?
Yeah, it needs to be submitted by May, when the submission date is.
Yeah.
What did you say? What date?
Like it's sometime in May, like the 15th or something in May.
Oh, right, because May is it. You can't submit in the summer. May is it, and then they assess and you get your results in December. Sorry, that makes sense.
No, so if you need 4 months to do it, take 4 months to do it. Right.
Mm-hmm. But just know whatever you want to submit within these four components, end of May or whatever the day is in May, that's it. Oh, there it is, May 18th. Is that right?
Yeah,
No.
It varies every year.
Okay.
So like payment end of February, submission of your component mid-May.
Okay.
And you can take all the time you need for it.
Yeah, it's really self-paced. So there's no deadline imposed on you other than this, drop dead submission window.
Okay.
Renee's asking, what is the length of each written component and how much time goes into each component? And it does vary. Kim can tell you her quick story about her video component.
I can. It does vary depending on if you guys do the same thing, then it would kind of be about the same time, but every certificate area is slightly different anyway, depending on what it's asking you to do. But when I did mine, I also failed my first time by 5 or 6 points as well. And so I needed to redo some. And at the time, you just paid a flat fee and you could do whatever you wanted. And I was like, well, okay, I'm fine on this component. And a week before my submission date, and my submission date was March 31st, a week before, 2 days before spring break, I decided I was going to redo my video. And I really up and quickly just turned on a video camera and retaught a lesson and rewrote it over spring break.
So you can do it that fast?
We can do that in a week. I mean, I wouldn't like advise that. But it can be done.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the whole process is approximately 200 to 300 hours, probably.
And how much did it cost you to resubmit? Another $475?
Yeah, that's how much it will cost.
Because you're basically, it's like you're taking it again.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you have to retake something, MFPE will pay for the retake of one component. So
I remember that.
The $475 for
remember
one.
that. Yeah, I do remember that. So Nikki, you did 2, but you really didn't have to, right? You just didn't want to risk it. Like, I'm going to pass come hell or high water.
Yeah. And I think at the time I redid it, MFPE was paying for 2 at the time. Okay. And so
they paid for like some of it.
At the time they had some scholarships in place, and those have kind of gone away. They've they've redone the money into more sort of like support rather than paying for submissions. So, but I was kind of like, well, I'll just not, I could have just done one and gotten that points, but
that's a really good question she's asking. Like, I was going to kind of ask that, like, how do you know which you should redo?
No, that's the hard part, is you get your score and that's it. So you'll get your score for each component, and so you'll see which score is higher and lower based on each of those components. So I saw which component I got the lowest score on, so that's what I chose to redo. And then I chose my second lowest score to redo that one. But you don't get any feedback. Like, you don't get any, hey, this needs to be stronger here, or we didn't see enough of the standards there. And that's what's really hard, is you sort of just get this blind score and you're not really sure where you're supposed to.
And did she ask another question?
You get to see where points are lost. So you'll get to see the rubric and how many points you got within each category. And then what that, whatever you call it, like the final score was and how each component contributed to that final score. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So did you take, when you when you committed to redoing those components, you obviously did them one at a time over 4 months, 6 months?
Yeah, so let's see. We would have found out recertification, it was in November that I got the news that I wasn't gonna. I gave myself some time to grieve and make tell people, there was some embarrassment that came with it, I'll say, and people know. And I think I got after it that February, and just decided, gave myself Christmas and January to kind of get through it. And then I remember spending quite a bit of time over spring break getting it finalized, and then resubmitting for that.
For both in that amount of time.
For those 2 ones.
That's huge.
And I think they had moved the deadline at that point to May.
Okay.
So I had a little bit more time.
And did you know that 6 points was close? Did you know? I mean, you said you knew you were 6 points short.
You had to have like 32, and I had, 20 some. Right. And so that's how I knew that I was close. And then I could look at my rubric and see, for the one video component was the one I was low on, and it was listening, speaking, viewing, and the integration of technology. All of those things had to appear in that component.
Wow.
And it was a lot. Like, there was just in it, and getting those little voices on film to where you could hear them. And so I ended up redoing that one. And then the other one was the writing piece, where you had to have 2 pieces of writing showing growth over time for
Yeah.
a student and how you differentiated for their work samples. And I went ahead and redid that one because I figured I could pull out some work samples and do that one.
Great.
I ended up doing fairly well on the test, so I didn't have to redo that one. But I've heard people say, oh, I just went and took the test again, hit that one out of the park, and then I was good.
Okay.
So it's just kind of up to you.
Yeah. Well, and that's just, if that were to be the case, and I wouldn't want to
I think they're finding now that they've made the process a little bit longer and given you more time and really encouraged you to do it, you know, maybe 1 or 2 components a year. I think they're finding the retake rate is going down.
Good.
And that's the purpose behind it.
Yeah.
The teacher I'm working with right now she took the test last year. She's doing 2 components right now to submit. And then she's going to work on the other one next fall. And so I think everybody just kind of does it at a different, in a different way.
That makes sense.
All right. Well, did we get all your questions answered?
For me, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Renee, put theirs on there. Yeah, and please just reach out and we'd be happy to help you at any step of the way. And Jumpstart will definitely answer all your questions.
Will there be a deadline for Jumpstart, or how do we get our names in for that? Or
I think
after you register with national boards and get your candidate ID number, you'll be able to register for that.
Okay.
They usually don't start taking registrations till May,
probably this spring.
like beginning of May.
And so, and that's $75. That's that fee at that point to get yourself in the system. Okay.
So, all right. Well, it was nice to meet you.